It's time for Losses Above Replacement, the best baseball podcast to grace your ears, with your hosts, Alex.
Gosh, I have so many questions. Also, where's my car?
Splash.
Strive to love something as much as my grandmother loves buying new crock pots.
And Mac.
If you've ever been to Boston, you know that they have amazing ice cream.
Coming to you from coast to coast, it's L-A-R.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Losses Above Replacement, the greatest baseball podcast to grace your ears. I'm today's host, Mathias Kurosaki, and with me, as always, we have our own non-roster invitees, Ryan Splash Potts and Alex Clark.
That was good. I like that.
Whoa. Okay. There's a couple different kinds of NRIs here.
Yeah, exactly.
I would like to propose that I am the Roki Sasaki kind of NRI because he's technically an NRI.
Let's go with that.
A minor league deal, so yeah.
Technically, he's an NRI. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm number 0 on the prospect rankings.
All right, perfect. How are you guys doing on this fine Wednesday evening?
Doing pretty good. I'll say Splash is dying over there on that, but no, doing all right. First podcast appearance of my cat Gigi, finally saying hi during. So yay, very very gook.
Yay,
hi Gigi.
Love you.
If you're a podcast listener and you want to see Gigi, check out the YouTube. We're growing.
We are.
It's fabulous.
It's absolutely brilliant. On top of it, why wouldn't you want to see my cat? She's beautiful anyway. On other topics with it, we're doing all right. Over here, found out. I went to the doctor's actually today and found good news. For one thing, I used to have really high blood pressure. Now I'm actually at a good level, which is fantastic to see. When they took my blood pressure, the top number was the same amount of wins that the Mariners had in 2001, 116. Oh. So that was fun. Anyway, on to actually fun topics. I don't have anything fun topics. Splash on to you.
Man,
Great.
What's fun nowadays? We at work had inventory week, so kind of wanted to, look over a balcony for a little while, a couple times, but that's okay. Yeah, we're vibing. It's the doldrums of the no sports season. Like your NBA All-Star break, the NHL is having an exhibition break, NFL isn't in free agency yet, and Major League Baseball spring training games haven't even started yet. But it's spring is trying to spring, struggling to spring. It feels like 7 degrees here.
Same.
And I'm not even in like Saskatchewan.
I think spring is on a delay.
Yeah, remember
spring got yanked out by like a 5-year-old, like an old slinky toy.
Well, Punxsutawney Phil basically just did that, So,
oh yeah.
Yeah, it is really cold in New York. Yesterday there's like a 5-minute walk from the subway to the gym, and on those 5 minutes, I went completely just numb. Like I couldn't feel my legs, I couldn't feel my face. Like it was just like it was freezing. Like I don't know what's going on. I'm not a fan of this. When I was born in the Northeast, I did not agree to this type of weather. But other than that, I am still watching over my cats. My parents come back 10 days or 9 days from now. But yeah, they're vibing, I think. I think they're not tired of me yet. They seem to enjoy that I give them food and water, and I spend time with them. I made this mistake of throwing on the Syracuse game while I was hanging out with them yesterday. Folks out there, don't show any of you, your family or your loved ones Syracuse basketball right now, because it's not so great.
If you or a loved one have been hurt by Syracuse basketball, you may be entitled to financial compensation.
I should be. Yeah, there are no major sports going on right now, but swimming is in Power 5 conference season right now. Texas and the SEC is kind of wacky. Cal and Stanford being in the ACC is also throwing everything off.
What are you talking about? Pickleball is at an all-time high right now.
Yeah, no, honestly, SEC swimming is like incredibly exciting because Texas is in the conference now. Texas has the most NCAA titles of any program ever.
Which is
So
weird because there's no water there. So how do they learn how to swim?
I don't know. I guess in Austin, well, when my friend lives by a lake in Austin, maybe
Okay, so there's water there.
that's where they learn how to swim, I think. Yeah.
This is, by the way, very much a joke. I'm just being funny for comedy ha-has.
Wait, whoa. Texas borders the Gulf of Redacted.
We're not even going this much.
Well, what part of the state? What part of the state?
The Corpus Christi coast.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
yes.
because there was a joke that the ACC had all coastal schools except for Louisville, because SMU, Texas is a coastal state, and California is a coastal state with Cal and Stanford. So
it's what ACC is.
Weird one. Like, that's just like how you draw lines on a map. If Pennsylvania is like a border as a ocean.
I missed the Big
state,
East, man.
But
Big
East was peak, frankly.
Yeah, exactly. Big East basketball with Syracuse, UConn, Pitt, all those. Yeah.
Villanova.
Speaking of Texas, though, there was some big news in the baseball world from Texas. It was a player leaving Texas, actually, though. Alex Bregman finally ended his free agency, signing a 3-year, $120 million contract with the Boston Red Sox. There's an opt-out after each of the first 2 years. I feel like we had there was a general understanding that he was not going back to Houston. It seemed like the door was briefly cracked open. Now it's fully closed. This happened a few hours after we recorded our podcast last week. And here we are. Alex Bregman is a Boston Red Sox. It sounded like it was between them and the Tigers, the Cubs. Of course, the Blue Jays were interested, but as things have gone with the Blue Jays offseason, they did not end up with him. So, guys, what's your reaction to Bregman's contract?
Overall, I'm not too surprised. This feels very similar to the Carlos Correa type deal that we got a bit ago, where this is not a 3-year deal. This is a 1-year deal. This is a 1-year deal with with basically just some extra steps, to quote a little bit of Rick and Morty there. But I mean, I don't hate it. The one thing that makes it very interesting is now it's what's going to happen with Rafi Devers. I'm not going to bring up the conference he said about I'm not leaving third. We were talking about that pre-show here, and more than likely there was just a language barrier something's going on there. But that does make an odd case for them, right? So Bregman is a right-handed hitter, which honestly does both pretty well for him, trying to hit over the monster. He's done it before. So now it's okay, are you going to put him at third base and be hitting constantly, and then move Rafi, or are you going to try and put him at second base here and let Rafi play third base? And right now, honestly, there's not really a definitive answer. We probably won't get a definitive answer until we get closer to actual MLB opening day here. As for fit-wise with Boston, I don't hate the signing. I really don't. They're in a contention window right now, even though the AL East is just absolutely stacked right now. But they think that they could contend, and they think that Bregman is the guy that could bring them at least over the hump for 2025. They're paying a pretty heavy premium, $40 million for him on just the 1 year. So it could work out pretty well for them, but we'll see. I don't think this is enough for them to get over the talent gap of, say, the Yankees or potentially even the Orioles.
So I just think the position stuff is overblown. Yes, Alex Bregman is the reigning third base Gold Glove. Yes, Rafi Devers is since he debuted, the lowest graded infielder by defensive runs saved. I get that. And you'd think, obviously you'd play Bregman at third and get his defense there. But then where are you playing Devers? You can play him at first base, or you can DH him. Okay, then that impacts Tristan Casas, and that impacts Masataka Yoshida. And you are playing dominoes with your lineup all of a sudden. When Alex Bregman is plenty good enough defensively to play second base. Frankly, he's plenty good enough. He could play shortstop, and I would be okay with that. Trevor Story, please stay healthy for the love of all things holy. So I don't have any issue with Devers playing third and with Bregman playing second. I think Bregman is a plus defender. He played short at LSU. He has played second and short at various times. Well, more so short than second because Altuve, Jose exists. But he's played short at times in the majors. I think he can get the hand actions down at second, turning double plays and whatnot. And I think he will be a plus fielder at second base if the Red Sox opt to play him there. And you can have the conversation with the likes of Christian Campbell coming up and Marcelo Meyer coming up and Roman Anthony coming up, that the Red Sox have some jumbling up to do. But for now, their best lineup is Connor Wong at catcher, Casas at first, Bregman at second, Story at short, Devers at third. Then your outfield of Duran, Rafaela, and Abreu, and then Yoshida at DH. You platoon Yoshida if you want because he's a lefty. And I don't have any issues with it. And I think Bregman can have a monster year. This screams Adrian Beltre to me. Remember, Beltre had one season in Boston. He went absolutely bananas. Then he got a big deal with Texas, played the rest of his career in Texas. He's in Cooperstown now. I could see Bregman having just a monster season, no pun intended. Among players with at least 90 at-bats in a given stadium, or 90 plate appearances in a given stadium, Alex Bregman has the highest OPS of any player at any stadium currently at Fenway. And I think this could be a nice pillow deal if he goes to greener pastures next year, or maybe he contends in Boston for years and years, and you figure it out. You move him to third, you trade Casas, and your long-term infield is Devers, Bregman, then Meyer and Campbell up the middle.
Yeah, I think the Red Sox are in a really good spot, actually. It's not a bad thing to have all this depth. I think they have a very good problem on their hands with a lot of infielders, and I think part of this also hinges on the health of Trevor Story. I mean, Story has gotten hurt each of the last 2 years. He's on a hefty contract. I think if he stays healthy, he can have another good season. I'm not necessarily saying he's going to have a season like he did in 2019 or 2018 or even his rookie year 2016, but I think he can be a good, 25 to 30 homer bat with strong defense. A lot of his issues with his arm were because he was dealing with an elbow injury. I think as long as he stays healthy, Story can be productive. He can be the everyday shortstop. But yes, to your point, Marcelo Meyer is also a shortstop. And Christian Campbell has been working exclusively at second base. So when Campbell is ready, he's going to play second base. And I think Bregman will hold the fort down until that point. But I think Devers is the odd man out in terms of playing the field. I think Devers has to be willing to slide over to DH, and he hits so well that I think he should be willing to do that. But then Yoshida's on a hefty contract, so it's kind of hard for him to be moved. He doesn't run particularly well. He hasn't hit for a ton of power. He improved in 2024, but he hasn't really played to the value of that deal. So it's a tough sell if they try to move Yoshida, but maybe you try to move Casas. They have a lot of infielders, but I said this a couple weeks ago. I'm drinking the Red Sox Kool-Aid. I think they're in a really, really good spot going this year. They made the right acquisitions for their rotation. Their bullpen is questionable, but I think getting Aroldis Chapman really helps them. And he'll probably be the closer this year. And then that lineup, I think 1-9 can compete with the Yankees and the Orioles. I think I said recently they're going to win more games than the Orioles. I think they even have a chance at the division. But yeah, I like this move for Boston. It was either give him the high AAV or give him a 6-year deal. I think they made the right move here.
So here's my question then to kind of add on with a lot of this here. So again, this is now we're starting to see a little bit more of a trend over the last number of years of players that get these 3, 4, 5 even year deals here, but have that opt out after 1 year here, which is 1 year or 2 years, all that kind of stuff. So what I want to ask you guys here on this is, do you think that teams, when they make these deals, do they really put in that risk assessment of what that deal is? Because it's giving a lot of power to the player, which I have no problems with at all. But it also means that basically you're signing that deal, you're giving that offer, full well knowing that more than likely it's a 1 year deal. But if something goes horribly, horribly wrong, now you're on the hook for $40 million a year for the next few years. Do you think that this is a trend that could potentially backfire on baseball?
I mean, it's the tough part here is also I think that loyalty is kind of not really a concept.
Oh no, no.
In professional
There's
sports,
very
I mean,
little loyalty in baseball.
we see this in the NBA, especially. Like it feels like every NBA player signs a deal knowing they're going to opt out immediately, and then. But the thing is, in the NBA, a lot of times I'm opting out so I can re-sign and get an even bigger contract with the same team, like Kevin Durant kept doing and what LeBron kept doing. But I think it's an interesting trend to watch. Because I'm sure at some point you're going to get a contract that does blow up in your face. Like, you sign a guy to, a 3-year deal worth, that's like $45 million a year or something. And then they have a really bad first year and you're just kind of stuck with them. I'm sure that's going to happen at some point.
As much as I love the man, Evan White says hi.
We've seen enough of those, like, I'll say the Evan White deal is different. It's much like Scott Kingery and John Singleton is that, those guys were prospects. But, eventually, though, I do think, there's going to be, because a lot of times we've seen it almost every single deal has featured the player opting out. The one exception, I believe, is Cody Bellinger. He opted into the second year of his deal with the Cubs, which is why they traded him. But, yeah, I think, to your point, eventually you are going to have a situation where some team gets stuck with a contract they don't want. And it might blow up in their faces. But I think it's more of the players are trying to get every penny they can get out of this game. Mm-hmm. So I understand why they want these deals.
Yeah.
And it gives it gives the player flexibility. It gives the player financial security for the first season. And, on the flip side, we've seen contracts that, like the Brandon Woodruff contract, he gets 2 years. The first year he's not going to pitch. He's going to recover from injury. And the second year he's going to be back in. And after a year of recovering in the Brewers facility, he's going to be able to pitch again. I think Boston did this with Lucas Giolito, correct?
So they signed Giolito before he got hurt.
Okay.
But it was a 2-year deal.
Seattle did this with Ken Giles as well.
Yeah, yes, I remember that. Yep.
100 Miles Giles.
And it really did not work, unfortunately.
Braves farmhand legend.
Yes, that's right. I forgot about that.
But it just, I think it lends to extra flexibility. And if you are Alex Bregman, Alex Bregman is a very prideful man. There's a reason he wears number 2. It's because Dansby got drafted ahead of him, but I digress. I'm serious, by the way.
It's true, though.
Yeah. So, he's going to go to the Cubs and play with Dansby and take less money. Have you met Alex Bregman?
Have you met any professional athlete ever?
Have you met Alex Bregman? But regardless, this to me is just another way, flexibility, different contracts. Because it felt like 10 years ago, every deal for like a player of Bregman's caliber or better was just 10 years, like the Albert Pujols contract, the Miguel Cabrera contract. It's just a bunch of years, a bunch of money, and we know it's going to age poorly at the end. And I like the variance here that Bregman might play for a couple different teams, like I mentioned Adrian Beltre earlier, AB initials. Who would have thought? And I do want to mention Cole Reagan's got an extension, and people were flaming all of baseball because they don't understand how
arbitration works.
Buying out arbiters works. So it's like, how does one of the best pitchers in the American League get 3 years for like $14 million? It's like, because those were cost controlled years for the Royals already.
Exactly.
So contracts are great.
Contracts, legitimately, like if you
understand Devers, Bregman does have some deferrals. I don't think any of us.
That's right.
It's not $40 million this year. It's like $20 million and $20 million in deferrals every year.
We've talked deferrals a lot on this podcast, and I think we've had some very differing opinions.
Losses above Dodgers.
Welcome back, everyone, to losses above our own pay grade here.
Exactly.
Welcome to losses above the luxury cap.
And for those of you who don't know, yes, other teams can use deferrals.
It's not just the
more
Dodgers.
Than just the Dodgers, but like I was saying though, I think the Red Sox have had that fan base has begged and begged and begged for Fenway Sports Group to spend some money, and I think they've had a very strong offseason. Crochet was a great trade, I think, and yes, he effectively replaces Nick Pivetta, who signed with the Padres. And then they get Bregman. I really think this team can do some damage to this year. As we've learned in years past, don't sleep on the Red Sox.
By the way, the Pivetta deal, he makes like $1 million this year.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah.
So we talked about the Bregman one. If that blows up, well, at least you're paying him $40 million this year. If the Pivetta deal screws up, you're paying him $1 million for the screw up, and then you have to pay him like $20 million.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah,
I wish the Braves to try to sign him, but there's a competitive balance pick attached, and that was
that's the thing. He got a qualifying offer.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, so yeah, that's that on Bregman. That was the last real domino to fall. I feel like in free agency. I know there are a couple names. Jose Quintana's still out there. There are a few other guys still
but
looking
the big
for
ones.
the
last.
But Bregman was the last of the big free agents. With Alonso signing a week earlier. But anyways, we are continuing our positional rankings for the 2025 season, sliding over to center field. And this is this was a tough position to come up with rankings. We talked about how left field isn't the strongest position. Center field, I think, is a bit weaker, actually, especially with the news we got this past week that Mike Trout is no longer a center fielder. He's playing right field for the foreseeable future to preserve his health. My God, I just want to see that guy play 100 games one more time.
Same.
But
I know he's in my division. Yeah. I still want to see Mike Trout play.
Yeah, it's one of those guys. Yeah.
It's kind of funny, like in the NFL world, people are telling me, "Oh, you should be rooting for Pat Mahomes because it's the." Like, I'm going into don't worry, give me a second here, because it's like, "Oh, you're watching a generational talent here."
Okay.
I'm like, "Okay, that's fair to a point." Yeah, I don't hate watching Mike Trout. Mike Trout, watching him play is probably one of the most exciting things, especially when he was fully healthy. One of the most exciting players in the game.
And again, he still can be.
Yeah. And here's the thing real quick. I'm going to cover my own base for a second. I do not hate Patrick Mahomes. I just don't like everyone saying that, oh, you need to watch it because you're watching a generational player. The more you feed that down me, the more I'm like, no. Mike Trout, he just does it. Like, you can't take your eyes away from him.
Yeah, and Trout's a real stand-up guy too. So I really just hope he stays healthy.
Did you see that he and his kid, Brandon, have started a card collecting YouTube channel?
Wait, do you mean Beckham?
Beckham, sorry. I don't know why I said Brandon.
I did. It's pretty awesome. That's just the type of guy he is. Yeah, exactly.
I'll say one last thing on this. We're not done with the Trout family, because his own son has the initials BAT.
BAT, yep.
Kid's gonna be he will come in and he's going to destroy baseball. This is the new savior of baseball we've needed.
It'd be Beckham, Trout, and Charlie Freeman.
Beautiful.
Anyways, let's go ahead and dive into our top 5 center fielders. Alex, let's go to you first then.
All right, so I'm going to
number 5 center fielder.
Number 5. So I'll give a couple honorable mentions first here, because this was a hard list, and I'll be honest here, I have about as much confidence in my list as Alex Bregman has played for the Boston Red Sox so far, as in he hasn't yet. So I have a few names here that I really wanted to include on the list. I just could not justify it here. The first one of those is Cedric Mullins. I like Cedric Mullins. I really like Ceddy Mully, but again, just too inconsistent. And the big name that I've left off my list, and this is probably going to surprise a lot of people here, is Luis Robert Jr. I left him off because last year was just a bad year. And to be fair, with the team in the state that it is right now, it's not giving him a whole lot of help. So I know that that's not going to fully depend on his own stuff there, but I couldn't put him in my top 5 because of that. So my number 5 here for this, I went with Parker Meadows. I think that Parker Meadows is a solid center fielder. He's going now into what I believe now it is his 3rd year. Now, and in his first year had an OPS plus of 94. Next year, 109. I love seeing that progression, especially in year 2. When you get to that second year, people are like, okay, the scouting report's out. Let's see what he does. Well, he got better. he got a lot better overall. And then you take a look at the projections for him going into this year, and he's projected right now to have a BABIP of about 287 and an offensive WAR about 4.1, which honestly, I can respect that. That's pretty solid, especially for a guy that right now is part of a team that is really trying to compete in the Detroit Tigers. So right now, I think right now, you're right that this center fielder class is very top heavy. And then you start to fall off a little bit, but I think Parker Meadows has done enough to solidify himself in the top 5.
Yeah, I personally don't have Meadows in my top 5. He's one of my honorable mentions. I do think, though, he's improved a lot, and there's a chance that by the end of the year, he is a top 5 center fielder. But I think the tough part for me is that he only played 82 games this year. Granted, he had over 2 wins above replacement on both Baseball Reference and Fangraphs, so there is something to work with there, and I think he has the tools to be a solid everyday player for a pretty young and up and coming team out in Detroit. A couple other names I really wanted to include. Pete Crow Armstrong, I think, is another guy who could be a top 5 center fielder. I need to see a little more from the bat. He is lightning fast and excellent defensive center fielder. O'Neal Cruz, I think, is going to have a huge season. And I think now that he's an outfielder, he could definitely work his way up there. And I think the first guy off for me is Brenton Doyle. I really wanted to put Doyle in my top 5. It's hard when you have a guy who plays half of his games at Coors Field because he had a WRC plus below 90. Which is crazy because he actually improved a lot offensively, he's an excellent defensive center fielder. He's been a platinum glover. I really like watching Brenton Doyle play center field. I can't put him in my top 5 yet. My number 5 is Cody Bellinger. Bellinger kind of, he was somewhere in between that horrible 2021-22 stretch and what he was in 2023, 109 WRC plus. 18 homers. I think that's going to go up playing at Yankee Stadium. He's a pull-happy guy. I think if he uses that short porch, he can hit 25, maybe 30 homers again this year. His strikeout rate, strikeouts were his biggest weakness for a while. Again, second straight year, 15.6%. His BABIP did drop a bit, but 109 WRC plus. Yes, his defense did take a bit of a step back. I know he dealt with some injuries earlier in the season, but I think Bellinger is overall just like he gets a check mark at basically, every aspect of the game. So Bellinger, I think he's going to have a solid year for the Yankees, batting in the middle of the lineup, and he's my number 5.
We're going to have totally different number 5s, but I do want to highlight an honorable mention in PCA for a minute. If he hits like 95 OPS plus, 100 OPS plus, he will be a top 5 center fielder. The defense is that good. It's special to watch. He runs the bases well. Last year, he had 2.3 WAR. He had an 88 OPS plus, and he didn't even play the full season. He was plus 11 defensive runs saved, plus 3 base runs, and he ends up with over 2 WAR in 3/4 of a season. So you're looking at a guy that if he's just average at the plate, and he has a little bit of pop. He had a 147 ISO last season, hit 10 home runs, 13 doubles, 6 triples, 27 steals, by the way. So the offensive output is a little bit better than a 670 OPS would dictate, but he's going to be a top 5 guy if he's even an average hitter. But
reminds me a lot of Kevin Kiermaier or Brett Gardner, guys like that.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me a lot of my number 5, Brenton Doyle of the Colorado Rockies.
There we go.
Yeah, a 104
I had a feeling
OPS
someone would put
plus
him on
last year.
Yeah, it was going to happen.
Yeah, won the Gold Glove over a loaded cast of National Leaguers. The core stuff, I get it. But if anything, that makes the defensive stuff even more impressive because Coors has such a gargantuan outfield. It's the largest outfield in baseball by a mile, no pun intended. And Doyle strikes out a lot. I get it. Walks some, but I like the power. And I know part of that's Coors and a 186 ISO. Part of that's Coors. Like I said, over 50 extra base hits. I like that. 30 steals. I like that. Of the group I was considering to be in my top 5, he had the most steals. Was actually second in homers, surprisingly enough. And I think he's a good, solid enough hitter. And you get the Coors whammy that the defense is probably more impressive than you think because it's such a large outfield. And when you leave Coors, we talk about the Coors effect inflating stats. We don't talk about the Coors effect deflating stats on the road. And I think that's an issue that Rockies for generations have run into, that, yeah, you're great at home because you get a bunch of fastballs, but when you go on the road and you don't see all fastballs anymore, you're just not used to it, right? So Doyle at 5. Last year, I think we all had a Rocky in Nolan Jones. This year, I have a different Rocky.
Well, Jones, I think we had in left.
Well, yes. Just a Rocky in the outfield.
Yeah.
Rockies in the outfield coming to you this summer.
Exactly. Yes. Splash, why don't you go ahead and start us off with number 4 then?
Sure. My number 4 is Mr. Byron Buxton. He was kind of healthy. He played 102 games, his most in quite a while. He had 3.6 baseball reference WAR. Out of the group, he actually had the highest OPS plus. He led the group in on base, slugging, OPS plus, a 137 OPS plus. I will take that out of Byron Buxton. 48 extra base hits, 27 doubles, 18 triples. Didn't run quite as much as you'd expect. The defense, only 2+2 defensive runs saved. But if you're the Twins, I would 100% take a just good defensive Byron Buxton and just a good base running Byron Buxton over the 80 grade, like legitimate 80 grade defense that he had in, 75 to 80 grade speed that he had, because the bat is so important, and he's the best bat at the position. If everyone's healthy for 162, he's my bet for the best bat at the position, even over number 1. Just a whirlwind of a player that I wish he wasn't going into his age 31 season. I wish he had played more. And that's really the hard part with Buxton, that it's so much of a what if story. And as good as he is, that's the thing, that there's like levels to it. Like at the top level, you have Mickey, Mantle, Trout, Griffey. Those are what if, because they could have been even better. And then that second row, Byron Buxton's to me, easy Hall of Famer if he was playing 150 games a season. For his career, 5.1 WAR per 162. He's finished in the top 20 in MVP voting twice, including 1 year. 1 year was the COVID year. 2022, he was an all-star in 92 games. 2021, he probably should have been an all-star. He had a 171 OPS plus, but he only played 61 games. Just an exceptional talent, and it's a shame that he's missed so much time due to injury.
Yeah. It's tragic, honestly, because you're right. When he's playing, he's that good. But it's because the fact he's not playing, he's not on my top 5. Like, I wanted to. I really did. But at the same time, the fact that he just doesn't play means I can't put him on the list, honestly. And so I'll go next with my number 4. You brought him up a moment ago. My number 4 is Cody Bellinger. I think that Bellinger going into this year is going to have a very interesting 2025, because we've seen when he gets his opportunity, he either completely dominates or folds. And I think in a ballpark like Yankee Stadium, he is going to have the opportunity to really succeed. Again, the smaller area means for more home runs. He has that cannon of an arm, can play great defense out there. And on top of it, he's also going to have some pretty good corner outfield help as well. So I think defensively, he's solid. Offensively, could have potentially one of the best years of his career because of where he's playing at. I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but the potential is there. And we've seen it time and time again over the last couple of years now. Bellinger's really proved that, okay, that one fluke year I had, don't worry about it. It's gone. Ixnayed. Bye-bye. He has shown that he can really play the position and be an everyday guy. Plus, on top of it, if they do want to move around some people, because, again, he was brought in to play center field to move Judge over to right, they can also switch that up, too, if they need to. Put Bellinger out in right, and you're not going to be hurting at all here, putting both of them in that position. So, for that, Bellinger's been number 4.
So I actually, wow, we are off to a pretty good start in terms of parity, I guess, because my number 4 is Michael Harris. If you wouldn't believe it.
We need to have on camera. We need to have the splash break-o-meter right now. As that one just exploded.
Okay, I'll say this much. Harris, I think, is a great player, and he's young. He's going to be 24 this season, and I think as long as he stays healthy, he can rebound and have a strong season, like closer to what he was in 2022. This year, his offense just across the board took a nosedive. I mean, 99 WRC plus for the season. His batting average fell close to 30 points. His on-base percentage was down close to 30 points. His slugging percentage was down close to 60 points. Overall, it just was a down year at the plate. He's a great athlete, though. He's a strong defensive center fielder. I mean, he's among the game's best in OAA with eight outs above average. That's the 93rd percentile. So you're going to get a good player, and there's still a decent amount of red on his page. I mean, his counting stats, even with the injury last year and him missing time, he still, 16 homers, 10 steals, 14 doubles. Like he still put up like a decent enough season. But as with most of his team, it was just, it was a down year across the board. I think, though, I'm expecting a bounce back season from him. I understand I still have concerns about that chase rate. It's nearly 40%. That's the 3rd percentile. He doesn't draw a lot of walks, but his strikeout rate's only 20%. I think overall you're getting a guy who could hit towards the top of the lineup and be a productive big leaguer. But for now, I have to put him at number 4. I fully expect to look back at this at the end of the year and be like, I can't believe I put him at number 4. But my number 3, though, is Byron Buxton. I am the high man here on Buxton. To your point, Splash, he was sort of healthy. 102 games, only the second time in his career he has played at least 100 games. Man, just like we were saying about Mike Trout, just let Byron Buxton play a full season. When you multiply his WAR out over 162 games, he's close to 6 F WAR from last year. Big fan of that 142 WRC plus. I think, and like Splash was saying, you're willing to sacrifice some defense for that bat. I mean, that was, I think, the most complete we've seen him as a hitter since that 2021 season, where I thought he was having an MVP caliber season before he got hurt. But I think Buxton, we're finally starting to see what he's capable of. So I hope he stays healthy. This is a great player, and I think the baseball world deserves to see a healthy Byron Buxton. But anyways, who do you guys have number 3?
So I'm gonna be honest, I'm getting scared now that we're getting to these top 3s here.
That's good.
That I horribly missed something.
You probably did.
Probably, more than likely. It would not be the first time. For number 3, I'm pretty high on this guy. Maybe not as high as you guys are. I'm not quite sure here. I got Jackson Merrill. Like, I think that Merrill, after last season, that what he had, this dude is a phenomenal talent. Here, looking at what he's got, the counting stats for him are absolutely strong. And then you take a look at what he's projected to do this year. The only real problems that he has are a high walk, as I assume, a low walk rate and a decently okay strikeout rate. But no, for him, he's young. He's in a great situation. He hits the ball stupidly hard here too. Like, this is a guy that legitimately, give him now this year, right? I'm a big believer in seeing how rookies do their second year, but I want to see what he's going to do, because right now he's projected on Fangraphs to get a 4.8 WAR in his second season, and he plays phenomenal defense on top of being able to be a good offensive presence itself. Like, I don't know what more we need to see at that point. All I want to see from him is consistency. Do it here in the second year. First year, you took the world by storm. Congratulations, you got your name on the map. Now how you keep the ink from fading away. You got to keep applying.
Yeah, I also have Jackson Merrill in my number 3 spot. It's important to note this is the first time he's playing center field. He came up as a shortstop, the AJ Preller method of having all shortstops. Yeah, Merrill was great. Out of this group, he led them in Baseball Reference WAR, games played, hits, homers, RBI, batting average, hit 292 as a rookie, slugged 500. That's pretty nice. 127 OPS plus at Petco, All-Star, Silver Slugger, plus defender, arguably a plus defender. And given that it was his first year at the position, he could turn into a perennial Gold Glove candidate. Under the hood, great batted ball metrics, 372 expected WOBA, 303 expected batting average, 534 expected slug. Really went to the Freddie Freeman school of like just everything's on the sweet spot of the bat. The high end, like exit velocities and whatnot, not quite like a certain number 1 and number 2 on my list. But otherwise, this is a really, really good center fielder. You go back a couple episodes, we had the Jackson debate, Chorio versus Holiday versus Merrill. And I believe I was the only one that picked Jackson Merrill, if memory serves, unless they chose Holiday and went totally off the rails. But regardless, second year at center field, I think Merrill's going to be spectacular again. And that brings me to my number 2. He's also a number 2. That is Michael Harris II. Yes, I know the 99 OPS plus is going to burn a hole in my eyes for the rest of Michael Harris's career. I understand that. However, the under the hood stuff was still really good. 344 expected WOBA, that's 81st percentile. 284 expected batting average, that's 94th percentile. Hit the ball pretty hard, 73rd percentile average exit velo. Barrel percentage, 68th percentile. And for his career, he's been an incredibly toolsy player. He doesn't walk much. Neither does Jackson Merrill. The strikeout rate is 20% below average. He sort of like swings until he strikes out or swings until he makes contact. It's sort of a very high variance approach. And the BABIP was down from his career norms, but with how hard Harris hits the ball, how fast he is, and he was dealing with a variety of injuries last year. Remember, he was plugged into the leadoff spot for when Ronald was down. So he's adjusting to a new spot because he's not a, plate discipline guy. So he's adjusting to that. He's getting yanked up and down the lineup, and he still put up 3.2 baseball reference WAR on a per game basis. That's right there with both the number 1 and Merrill behind him. In the second half, he was really good. September to October, including the playoffs. He finally hit in the playoffs. Michael Harris, unbelievable. You can do it, buddy. He had 1 career hit in the playoffs. He's like 1 for 27, all against the Phillies, 1 for 27 entering the Padres series. And this year he just went bing bop all over the Padres, even though they lost. The Braves lost. But yeah, a 1750 OPS, 5 hits and 8 plate appearances. That works for me. So Michael Harris is my number 2. And I could have a serious argument of him being number 1. I'm not going to do that today, but I could have a serious argument for him being number 1.
So I actually have Jackson Merrill at number 2. I was super impressed by this guy. Watching him, he felt like when the Mets faced him, he was impossible to get out. And he's a guy, he sort of got off to a sluggish start, mainly in the power department, but he slugged 596 in the second half and had a 945 OPS. And I think, almost every other year, Jackson Merrill would have been the runaway for Rookie of the Year. Unfortunately, Paul Skeens exists. But Merrill actually finished ahead of Skeens in MVP voting. Plus, he won a Silver Slugger. So, as a rookie, he was second place in Rookie of the Year voting, 9th place in MVP voting, Silver Slugger. There's a lot of red on his Baseball Savant page, including 11 outs above average in a position he had never played before. Jackson Merrill, I didn't even expect him to be on the big league roster to begin the season. And across the board, just a phenomenal season, really. 127 OPS plus. He slugged 500 for the season, 24 homers, 90 RBIs, 6 triples, 31 doubles. I mean, that's 61 extra base hits as a rookie, 16 steals. He's a 5-tool player, in my opinion. And I think I understand, like, that's probably a 90th percentile outcome maybe for him, but I'm expecting a similar caliber season this coming season. I think he really can, he and Tatis can really cement themselves as the cornerstones for this franchise that's kind of going through an awkward transition right now with, the whole ownership stuff. And, they lost Profar, but I think Merrill overall is just a very good player. And I'm expecting big things in year 2.
All right. I could do the plot twist of the century, but I'm not going to. It's Michael Harris II as my number 2. I mean, take what Splash said and just kind of multiply it. Like, what more do you want for this guy? This dude is an incredible defensive center fielder. He's got the offensive power to work with. The main thing you just have to worry about is that chase rate, like you're talking about. Right now projected at a pretty darn high overall strikeout rate for him, right at about 18.5% here, and only a walk rate of only 5.8%. But, I mean, look at everything else that it checks the boxes, right? He's got the offense. He's got the defense. He has all of it ready to go. He's got the speed. He has everything that you need. There's the only knock you could have on him, really, is that, again, like you said, end of last year kind of tapered a bit. So now, what is he going to do with a full season? And can you get that full bit of that full Michael Harris experience throughout the year 2025? I feel like he's a safer bet to be, I'm not going to say better than Jackson Merrill. I think he is going to have, though, still a solid bet to at least be at at the high levels that he could be at, which is a higher level than Jackson Merrill. I think it's going to be interesting to see. Again, at the end of the year, we may be saying that Merrill is potentially the runaway number one. It's very possible. But there's someone else. There's someone else that the number one spot seems to be looming for.
All right. Why don't you tell us who the number one center fielder is then? I think we all have the same number one.
I mean, obviously, we just got to do a quick little costume change here. That would be one Mr. Julio Rodriguez. I mean, come on. It's Julio. It's the J-Rod show. I mean, here's the main question. I'm not even going to bring up the stats this week, right? Like, I mean, we all know what you're going to get from J-Rod. You're going to get incredible power, incredible defense here. The main question is, how long and when will it start? Because Julio, for the last couple of years, has shown that he struggles at the beginning of the year and picks it up near the end. There's one thing I want to bring up, though, on this, right? Because I've made this analysis before. Last year, the turning point for Julio was when Dan Wilson and Edgar Martinez took over the management for the Mariners. And it was almost an immediate turnaround. What happens now when you get a full season, full spring training with Edgar Martinez, one of the greatest pure hitters of our generation, working with Julio? We saw what happened at the end of last season. Julio was almost carrying the team. Can he, if he legitimately, like, if we have a full season of Julio playing like Julio mid to late season, this guy's an MVP guy. Like, legit, you put the numbers together of how, if he's able to be consistent about it, he's a I can't say Hall of Famer yet, but he's an MVP level player. And there's a reason why when he was negotiating his contract, he instead of just getting all the guaranteed money, one of the things he wanted was a stipulation of getting money for MVPs. This guy knows he can do it. He has the ability to do it. Just have it for a full season, please. The way that Splash, the way that you pray for Byron Buxton to be healthy for a full season, I pray for Julio to have a consistent season. You have consistent Julio Rodriguez. You have one of the best players, not just center fielders. You have one of the best players in the game of baseball.
Yeah. And I really think that last year, I mean, it showed what he can do even when he was struggling. It kind of shows what he's made of, is that he didn't really let those struggles snowball. That's what I like, though, is that he was able to fight out of it eventually. And to your point, the last 29 games of the season, so from August 28th on, he hit 349 with a 983 OPS. Like that is, we saw towards the end of the year, overall, he had an OPS over 800 in the second half. And that's more of the Julio Rodriguez we expect to see. And still, he had a 2020 season. He had a 116 WRC plus. He had over 4 wins above replacement on Baseball Reference, 3.8 on Fangraphs. He's still a pretty solid center fielder. He's fast. I mean, he is a 5-tool player. I think last year, that slow start lasted a little longer than we thought. I mean, he had a 660 OPS in late August. But I think you're looking at a guy who can get up to around 850, maybe get towards 900 and be a 30-30 guy again. So I think I wouldn't read too much into his struggles last year. I think we really started seeing come out of it. Kevin Seitzer is also going to be with the team this year. Splash knows Kevin Seitzer is a great hitting coach. I cannot believe the Braves fired him last year. But I think
one
that
team's trash is another team's treasure.
I guess. But I'm expecting a big season from Julio. I think we're looking at a guy who could be top 5 in MVP voting, maybe even challenge Aaron Judge for it. So yeah, I obviously J-Rod is my number 1, and I honestly didn't even think that much about putting him elsewhere, really.
Okay, I do want to defend the Braves here. The Braves were a catastrophe of an offense last year.
I mean, yes, they were, but
although what's funny is Seitzer, at least last year, was the only active hitting coach that I believe had a 300 season, like hitting 300, or was an MLB All-Star.
He was a pretty good hitter for a brief period of time with the Royals.
But yeah, so you probably just needed a change of scenery, to be honest with you. But I have Julio E. Rodriguez as my number 1. The other Julio Rodriguez in the Mariners organization. He plays catcher, but I'm sure if you ask him nicely, he can play center field. The Mariners also have a different Luis Castillo, so they have multiple Luis Castillos and multiple Julio Rodriguez's.
They're just getting the Wish.com version of the Mariners.
Yes, exactly. So Julio is my number 1. I am not like jumping off the page here. I think this is sort of an artifact of like Aaron Judge moving off the position. I'd be much more comfortable Julio being the number 2 center fielder, but Aaron Judge plays in right now. This is, as I said, with my NFL quarterback rankings, my number 5 spot was just vacant. I didn't think anyone deserved to be number 5 until Hurts stepped up and just became the best quarterback in the league in the playoffs, right? So think of this as like, I don't think Michael Harris is actually number 2 or Julio is actually number 1. I feel like they're really like a number 3 or number 4, but it's a weaker group at the position. Julio is great. He's a 5-tool guy, like Max said, 96 percentile sprint speed, plus defense and center, good arm, mega plus arm, frankly. Mega plus arm, hits for a lot of power, is the most toolsy of this group besides maybe Buxton. But even that's a conversation. That is a fun conversation. Like peak of his powers, Buxton versus peak of his powers, Julio. That would be a fun just tools conversation. If you simulated their careers on MLB The Show, because Buxton, former top prospect, Julio, former top prospect. If they hit their peaks, these are Hall of Fame level players to me. And Julio is dropped by 1 WAR all 3 seasons. He started at 6, went to 5 last year, was at 4 this year's OPS plus has dropped all 3 seasons, similar to Harris actually. So Julio is a very, very good player, a top, 40 player in the sport, 30 player in the sport. That's a tough list to do every year. He's gone 20-20 3 straight times. He's, settled into hitting in the 270s. He's not immune to walking. This is a positive, unlike Merrill, who's under 5% walk rate for his career, and Harris, who's under 5% last year. Julio's at 6%. That's trending down again, but if he gets 7-8%, then you raise the floor. He didn't hit the ball quite as hard as he had in previous seasons. The hard hit rate was down below 50% for the first time, but he didn't have a ground ball problem, which helps.
Fly ball rate went up.
Yeah, but the ISO at 136, a little scary because he was a 220 ISO guy his first year and even a 210 ISO guy last year. So he's number 1 on the technicality of there has to be a number 1, but this is very much I don't want to say quite like the NFC West or the NFC West, the year the Seahawks went 7-9, but this is more like the Houston Texans version of winning the division, not like the Chiefs or Lions winning 15 games.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that he had a down year, but it's one of those. It's one of those positions where when it was all right, who's the number 1 center fielder? My mind immediately went to Julio. Just especially with Judge moving to right field, back to right field. It
and kind of have a Trout argument. Trout would have been 4th on my list.
Yeah, Trout would have been on my list.
Merrill.
He would have been on mine too.
It's just with Trout not being that's the other thing is that I was preparing my rankings and then Trout announced he was moving to right field, so it's all right, now I have to find a fifth guy.
Now you got to put Cody Bellinger on the list.
Yeah, no, and like I think Bellinger's a fine player. It's just I would have bumped him off for Trout. And I think this is a list that could see it could be pretty different next year. We're gonna probably see some people move off the position too.
Yeah, I mean, you have O'Neal Cruz moving to the position.
Yeah, O'Neal Cruz, yeah. And then we're going to be seeing some young guys play more. So,
and to preview next week, I mentioned that Julio winning this group is like the Texans winning the division. Next week is the NFC North. Next week, you have a 15-win team, 14-win team. Packers make the playoffs, and the Bears, if they don't have the Hail Mary, they probably win 10 games for some reason. So next week's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, right field's going to be right field. The decisions are going to be tough for a different reason. But anyways, if you agree or disagree, whatever you think, let us know at LAR_baseball on Twitter and Instagram. Even drop a comment on YouTube if you're watching there. Tell us who your top 5 center fielders are. But anyways, it's time for everyone's favorite segment every week. It's time for trivia. And Alex has that for us today, so take it away.
All righty. Hello, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and gays and days, and everyone in between. Anyway, first and foremost, before we get to the trivia, we have a little bit of admin to do. First bit of admin is last week's trivia. We have a result from. The audience has spoken, and from the fast money have declared by a vote 80% to 20% that Mac had the better fast money.
Let's go.
Responses. So congratulations to Mac here on getting the win. And that win means something because it will allow you an advantage in today's trivia. Not a huge advantage, mind you. It is time for the name game. Splash, I want you to know, I took a lot of inspiration from a trivia segment that you've done recently, and I put a different little spin on it. Here, I have 7 quotes, or let's just say statements that are about 2 players that have the same last name, not related to each other. As far as I know, maybe there is some. I don't know. I made this up last second. No, but what's going to happen is I have these 7 statements, and I'm going to read them out. You have to tell me who both players are. The common theme being that they both have the same last name. Does that make sense? Any questions on that?
So, NFL example, Lamar Jackson and Fred Jackson.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Gotcha. To be clear on like how that would work, this MVP quarterback for the Ravens also went by the nickname of Fragile.
Also bruised J.J. Watt's thigh down to the bone.
Yeah, exactly. So it works like that. You would say Fred and Lamar Jackson. So I have 7. So each of you are going to get 3 of them. And then if we have a tie after 3, then we'll use the last one as a tiebreaker. So the advantage that Mac gets, you get to choose, do you want evens or odds?
I'll go evens.
Evens? Okay, so that means you're going second. So Splash, you are going first. So here we go. Your first one. Here. This almost unanimous Hall of Fame outfielder played a main backstop for multiple teams like the A's and Nats.
Okay, run through that again.
Yeah,
please.
This almost unanimous Hall of Fame outfielder played a mean backstop for multiple teams like the A's and Nats.
This would be Ichiro and Kurt Suzuki.
That is absolutely correct. It is Ichiro and Kurt Suzuki for 1 point to Splash. All right, Mac.
By the way, shout out to No More Fielders, the replacing Mauer video.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah,
100%. All right, Mac, on to you next. And I'll give us, I've randomized these, so apologies for some maybe team overlap. This Mariner perfecto thrower won a World Series and won the Home Run Derby after leaving the M's?
That is Felix Hernandez and Teoscar Hernandez.
That is absolutely correct. 1-1 to you guys. All right. Splash. This legendary Braves third baseman should be in the Hall of Fame as a center fielder for the same team.
Okay, these guys are actually brothers. Kids.
Oh, they are?
Andrew Jones and Chipper Jones.
Okay, yeah,
I'll
cool.
flip the
There
order.
Yeah,
you're
you know Chipper Jones is also from Curacao.
Yeah. The Jones Bros.
Yeah, the
Those
Jones
bros.
Bros.
All right, 2-1. Neither of you have gotten one wrong yet. So, Mac, it's on to you now.
All right.
With Boston, he was just being himself. But with Florida, he won the Rookie of the Year in 2006.
Oh, I got it. Actually, they both played for the Red Sox.
They did.
At separate times. Technically, they did overlap briefly for like one at bat, but
like a cup of coffee. Yeah.
Manny and Hanley Ramirez.
That is Manny and Hanley Ramirez. I was trying to figure out a way, how could I do the Manny being Manny? I'm like, he was just being himself.
Yeah, he once cut off a throw in left field for some reason.
That was mad funny.
Beautiful.
You could have had a pretty funny one that Manny Ramirez cuts off throws in left field and Hanley Ramirez doesn't chase balls down in left field.
This is true. This is a good point. I think I had more fun with this one, though, but I get it. All right, Splash. On to you. Mr. October never played for the Yankees, but he did play for 7 different teams and was a runner-up in the 2010 Rookie of the Year voting. There we go. Yeah, I just had a little bit of a difficulty spike on that.
Okay. Oh, my goodness. The second and...
Would you like me to
say
read
which
that one more
league?
time?
Yeah, please read one more time.
Mr. October never played for the Yankees, but did play for 7 different teams and was a runner-up in the 2010 Rookie of the Year voting.
That was that the Kimbrel year or was that 11? Well, no, it was Kimbrel and Freddie that year, so he couldn't have been runner-up. And it could have been AL. Didn't Jeremy Hellickson win Rookie of the Year the one year?
That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, that's a throwback. Okay, so it'd be American League in all likelihood. First name is Reggie Jackson. Second name is I can't think of another Jackson. I am at a loss of like English because all I can think of is Alex Jackson. That makes no sense. It's not Michael Jackson, Ravens receiver.
Cleveland closer back in the day.
Yeah.
Gonna need an answer from you.
Tigers legend Austin Jackson.
There you go.
God.
You pulled it out there.
I pulled that one from the nether realm.
Splash, you pulled that one from the depths of hell itself.
Okay, shout out. I posted about him several times on our Twitter. He was a triples god.
Yeah. So funny enough, when I was doing research for this, I was looking at the baseball reference page for him. The only accolade that is mentioned on there is that he was second place in the Rookie of the Year voting.
Look, I'm a big Austin Jackson fan. He hit a walk-off double in David Wright's last career game.
Nice.
To win 1-0 in like 13 innings. But yeah, so Mets legend Austin Jackson.
Also Mariners legend. One thing I always remember for him is in game 161, got the game-winning run to bring it to game 162, which then Seattle would not even batter in at that point. But there was hope, and it was really cool. Anyway, Mac, on to you. You need to get this right, otherwise Splash automatically wins.
All right.
This unlucky slugging first baseman for the Orioles hit a game-tying home run in Game 7 of the 2016 World Series.
Chris and Rajai Davis.
That is absolutely correct. I didn't know if I should put the word Orioles in there, but because I just leave it with unlucky. But I'm like, that might be too hard. So
I was like, Mountcastle was that unlucky? oh, that's what you meant. It's like, who has a last name Mountcastle?
Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Mountcastle. Anyway, all right, you guys have perfected the trivia. Congratulations, but we do have a tiebreaker. So Here's what's going to happen for this. I have one more prompt. What I need you both to do is to get Discord ready, to direct message me your answer. The first one to get the answer into me will be the winner. So I will make sure I give you guys time here to make sure you have like a DM with me pulled up.
Discord's tripping. Okay.
Of course it is.
That's LAR. That's not Alex. Where's Alex? There he is. All right.
I see you got me open?
I have it pulled up. Here we go.
All right. So here we go. The first person to send me a message with the correct response will be today's winner. This Kansas City Monarchs first base legend, famously nicknamed Nancy by Satchel, played most of his career with St. Louis before having a strong year with Boston. Mm-hmm. Again, this Kansas City Monarchs first base legend, famously nicknamed Nancy by Satchel Paige, played most of his career with St. Louis before having a strong year with Boston. Mac has put in his answer, and he is correct.
Let's go.
Mac has won with Buck O'Neil and Tyler O'Neil.
Oh, come on.
Congratulations,
Mac.
It
took me a second.
You have won today's trivia.
I thought Splash was going to get that.
Okay. I have a technicality here. The last name's not spelled the same.
Oh, God, I didn't even think about that.
But
I put this together.
I would not. Okay, yeah. I will concede defeat, but I will.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah.
Buck.
No. The Tyler is 2 L's. Buck O'Neil is 1 L.
Oh my God!
You're right. I must have misread that because I thought they both had the 2 L's.
That didn't factor in. I was thinking Jackie Robinson.
Fair enough.
Because he did play for the Monarchs too. Yes,
he did play for the Monarchs, but he was a shortstop.
And then I was thinking Larry Walker, but he ended with the Cardinals against the Red Sox.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah, here we go. Yep.
Congratulations
again, Mac.
Good job.
Thank you, Alex. That was a fun segment. I enjoyed that.
Brought to you. Next segment is going to be Tyler O'Neil and Shaquille O'Neal.
Exactly.
Shaquille.
All right. Well, we're gonna end this episode the way we end every episode, which is with the moment to ourselves, 60 seconds or so to talk about whatever the heck is on our minds. So, who here wants to go first? All right, Alex, why don't you go first? Your timer starts.
Give me a countdown.
Yeah, your time starts in 3, 2, 1, begin.
So I have been getting to know some of my neighbors here. I normally don't do that very often, but we have one. His name is Van, and Van, honestly, a really cool dude, and is a Dodger fan here. But he grew up as a Dodger fan, so not bandwagoner. But he's about to get to retirement, and I don't think he listens to the podcast, so that's why I'm okay saying this here. But we're having a retirement party for him, and I just got this back from PSA here, and I'm going to give this to him as a retirement gift here. This is an autographed Steve Garvey card that I pulled a bit ago here. It's not the best grade. It's only a 7, but he told me that he actually has had some stories about Garvey and getting to meet all the Dodgers back in the day here too. So I feel like this is a very apropos kind of gift to give, because also when I pulled it, he was one of the first people I showed here a good bit ago. So I think he's going to be happy to see that. And Van, congrats on retirement.
That's a pretty sick pickup. Also,
nice.
That's
hopefully that's his only win of the season. The road to 0-162 starts now.
0-162. All right, Splash. Do you want to go next?
I can. Sure.
All right. Your time starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, folks. I don't really have much to say today. Hopefully the Cavs do the things. By things, I mean winning basketball games. They're the best team in the East as of right now, record-wise. I think they would lose in a 7-game series to Boston. And depending on the matchup, if they hold on to the 1 seed, I think it's about a 5-game gap, Cavs over Celtics. If they hold on to the 1 seed, the 4 or 5 matchup might be Orlando, Milwaukee, Indiana, Detroit, maybe. I don't know. They're in that cluster, like 4 to 6. I don't think New York drops to the 4 line. But I'm really happy with how the Cavs have kind of like meshed together this year. Donovan Mitchell is not taking quite as much of the offensive load. He's deferring a little bit more. And I think that shows that he's getting some MVP down ballot MVP consideration. The straw poll that the Hoop Collective podcast does, I think Mitchell was 4th. I mean, I think it's just a really talented team. It reminds me a lot of the 2019 Braves, that you don't have a superstar. This was before Freddie won an MVP. This is before Ronald won an MVP. This is, but it was just a lot of pieces pulling in the same direction. You had, good year out of Donaldson, you have Ozzy, you have Acuna, you have Freddie. It's just a likable bunch of guys. They're all pretty good. They all have a little bit of a different skill set. And hopefully the Cavs can, I just want to make the Eastern Conference Finals. That'd be cool to do without LeBron. And I think they're set up really well to contend these next couple of years. And if they don't win the finals this year, don't blow it up. Sometimes you just need a second crack at the apple.
Yeah, I will say, obviously, I think the Cavs have done great, but watching the Celtics play the Knicks, was it 2 weeks ago now? They looked really scary. I mean, it was just it was like alarming how I thought they looked way better than their record indicated. Obviously, I'm feeling pretty good. I've been watching a lot more basketball than usual, I feel like, partially because the Knicks have been good this year, but I don't know. It's one of those things where, like, yeah, the NBA, I mean, people have been debating, is it actually a good product and all this stuff? But I've been watching a lot of the NBA this year, a lot of college basketball too. Good filler for before baseball season. But, anyways, can one of you count me down?
Yeah, I got you. So your time begins in 3, 2, 1, begin.
Yeah. So like I was saying at the beginning of the show, the way I'm passing time, also in addition to obviously the NBA, it's conference championship season for swimming. Shout out to my alma mater, TCNJ, won our 4th straight conference title. Shout out to the senior class this year. The class of 2025 does not know what second place is. Unfortunately, that is something my class knows too well because we were second place both seasons that we had conference championships before the COVID shutdown. I understand what would have been my senior year. They did end up winning. I was in grad school by that point. And we did win a COVID-shortened title. But yeah, shout out to the senior class, but also these conference championships are kind of crazy. Like I said earlier, Texas is in the SEC now. They get to compete against Florida and Tennessee and Georgia. It's kind of just bananas how ridiculous that conference is. ACC putting Cal, a team that won 2 years ago, in there. Stanford, who's got a great men's and women's program, competing against Virginia and NC State and Louisville. It's, as much as conference realignment still doesn't make any sense to me, it's been good for this sport. It puts the best competition against each other, not just at the end of the season. It's kind of, to me, like MLB introducing interleague play to be year round, and every year every team faces each other. Now these guys and gals do not have to wait until March to face each other. They get to face each other every February. They get to face each other sometimes more than just February. It's exciting. I enjoy watching that stuff. NCAAs are going to be a lot of fun. And for those who don't know, this is a sport that gets competed more than once every 4 years.
I will say I still forever am going to be slightly triggered by conference realignment.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. Personally, it still looks, because they were like putting like how does they put out some announcement like Cal added a person to their conference roster, and I was like, wait, they're in the ACC? I'm like, oh my god, yeah, they are in the ACC. Just it's so it just because at least Texas A&M has been in the SEC for a while. Like Texas being in the SEC, like in baseball, like Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, like those schools sort of make sense as being in the SEC. But like SMU and Cal and Stanford they stick out like a sore thumb in the ACC.
SMU technically, I mean Texas is Atlantic Coast technically.
Yeah, bring back
sure.
the Pac-12.
Hey,
Yeah.
Alex, our football teams will be in the same conference pretty soon.
Wait, really?
Yeah, Boise State and
Oh, right. I thought you meant like
Yeah.
Seahawks and
Arizona.
Ravens. I'm like, how?
what?
I know. I thought you were referring to Arizona for a second.
Oh no. No.
I mean, to
But
be
yes.
fair, I am very okay with going to see the Smurf field. So
Yeah,
I'm ready for
Smurf.
this.
I would like to go. I don't know when I make the trip up to Boise, but Boise State plays at Notre Dame this year in October. I'd like to go to that game.
That's
Oh,
gonna
in
be
South Bend?
interesting.
Yeah.
Ooh, man.
So they're gonna lose and probably get whacked, but that'd be really cool.
Yeah, for
True.
those of you, I'm sure I've said this before, but that's where when my mother's family first moved from Japan to the States, South Bend was where they first moved. So like, she doesn't watch college football much, but like Notre Dame is technically her team. But like, yeah, Notre Dame, I know has storied football history, and they were just in the championship game this year. So that's gonna be, I'm sure that'd be a big matchup. I bet. Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm just excited for. It's weird being excited for Syracuse football, but like that's
Where
where
does
we're
Kyle
at.
McCord go in the draft?
I don't know, honestly. I wonder. I'm excited to watch Ricky Collins next year. But yeah, I know that there's McCord is in the draft, Gadsden, LaQuint Allen. It's it's funny because I dug up some of my old anchoring reels from grad school, and LaQuint Allen was like a freshman back then. It was crazy. Kyle McCord wasn't even on the radar for us, but that brings us to the end of our show. Make sure to follow all of us on Twitter. Follow myself at Mathias_A_K. Follow Splash at Mr. Splashman19. Follow Alex at the Sports Guy 242. And like I said earlier, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at LAR_baseball. Posting daily content over there. It's been a fun stretch, I'd say, and it's only gonna get more fun once the season starts. Spring training games start this weekend, so get ready for that.
They start tomorrow, Thursday.
Oh yeah, actually they do. Yeah, I believe it's Boston and Northeastern. I'd like to say.
Oh well, the Cubs and Dodgers play too.
Cubs and Dodgers. Yeah, I know that the Red Sox face Northeastern.
Cody
Yeah.
Coteet is one of the pitchers.
Yes.
Pitchers of that game.
Yes, and they're going to play a catcher.
What's his name? Clay Holmes is starting the Mets opener, I know, on Saturday. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube or Spotify or all of the above. Leave us a thumbs up if you like it. If you don't like it, subscribe, though. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you think you do differently. Tell us why you think someone else is the best center fielder in baseball. I don't know, but let us know your thoughts.
Maybe it's TJ Friedel.
Yeah, maybe it's TJ Friedel. Maybe it's Reggie Abercrombie.
Maybe JJ Bleday. Who knows?
Yeah, JJ Bleday. Maybe it's Pablo Sanchez. Like, I mean, who knows?
I mean, obviously. I mean, no, to be fair, the best center fielder from that is still Pete Wheeler.
Oh, yeah, no, maybe it's Pete Wheeler, But anyways, that's it for all of us today. Thank you all for listening. Stay safe, and I hope to see you all real soon. Thank you.